Alrighty, guys, welcome to laying all the foundations to the Athletes Authority mentorship. Lockie and I are super excited for this to be day one of, I don't know, what must be about 200 and something days together. And in this mentorship, we really want to take you from having a big idea, having a passion for something, and systemizing it and implementing an incredible system that allows you to actually not only live out that passion, but actually make revenue from that, make some money, stand out from the crowd, and kind of feel like you're really adding as much value as possible. For all of those things to happen, for all the systems to get implemented, for you to get educated effectively, for you to develop the knowledge you need to work with your target market, we need to lay some groundwork. And this is essentially the first thing I want to do with you over the next few days, and maybe the next 5 to 7 days, is essentially go through your personal story, your business story, your customer story, the things that matter, the groundwork you need to lay, the roots you need to kind of make sure are well kind of grounded inside the soil, so you can start to flourish this tree as it grows, not only through its trunk and then produce a whole bunch of products, which are hopefully the fruit on the branches. That metaphor definitely worked better in my head, by the way. Anyway, so the first thing we want to do is work on our personal story. So this is quite an important part of this piece. And if you look at that quote down the bottom, your personal story, and by Gary Vaynerchuk, it says, no matter what business you're in, your business is to sell your story. So this is a fundamental concept. If you're going to differentiate yourself from the crowd, if you're going to stand out, if you're going to scale at some stage, if you're going to make an impact and make a difference, people are going to need to know what you're all about. They're also going to need to know why you do what you do. But the flip side to all of that, that is often the thing that's hardest to communicate. The idea that you've come from somewhere and now you're here is hard to share, because it's often grounded in these feelings of inadequacy or a lack of confidence, or for myself, it was I used to get bullied and I used to feel really underconfident. So whatever that personal story is for you that has created the person you are now, the most important thing is to explore that. And I want to clarify that this is not a Tony Robbins course. This is not a life kind of coaching course at all, but it does need to share some of those components for us to actually take this system to where it needs to be. So day one is all about your personal story. So this is a fantastic way to think of it. Always remember you're unique, just like everyone else. And what we mean by that is that if you can find another person who's had the exact same set of experiences you, the exact same set of challenges, of insights, if someone's had the exact same set of timelines as you, that they are exactly identical to you, you'd be pretty hard pressed to find that. And realistically, there's no one who's had the same set of experiences, insights, and challenges as you. And that makes you special, makes you unique. It actually makes you the perfect person, the perfect candidate to help someone like you learn from your mistakes and learn from your successes. So when we delve into this personal story, you're going to find out a fair bit more about yourself. When you find out more about yourself, what that's actually going to do is shine a light on and the challenges, the problems, the passions of others. And actually those others are going to be the people you want to work with. So for some of you, it might be working with young kids and inspiring them to lead healthy, active lives. For others, it will be wanting to work with elite athletes and making sure that they don't rely on their talent alone. For me personally, in front of you guys today, it is to help coaches realize their potential and actually stand out from the crowd. So we've got to remember, you've always got to come from that place of I'm unique. I've got my unique set of insights, my unique set of experiences, and that makes me the perfect candidate to help people in my own unique way. So if you can keep that in mind as you progress through this first day, that'll be absolutely fantastic. So I want to first introduce a concept called the proximity effect. And it's the idea that the closer you are to something, the harder it is to see its brilliance. Now, what you see in front of you is sandstone. There is nothing inherently brilliant about what you see in front of you. And we would all probably agree on that, right? And we see that in our own lives. You have all these unique insights. You've got this knowledge. You've got these passions. All these things come together. But because you're living with all these things day in, day out, you don't necessarily see the brilliance and the unique combination of things that you have to offer and the unique value you can bring to the table. And that's why you don't see it as incredible, as brilliant. You see it as just kind of, oh yeah, that's the stuff I teach every day. Oh yeah, I do this every day. Or, oh yeah, that comes naturally to me. Whatever it might be, the thing that you fob off when someone says, wow, you're awesome, is actually true. You are probably awesome, you just don't see it. And the best way to gauge this proximity effect is when we stand this close to the sandstone, all we see is sandstone. But if you take a step back and take quite a few steps back and look from the outside in and observe what's going on, you'll see this. And that's the pyramids. It's an ancient wonder of the world. It's still one of the few things that engineers today just cannot figure out how this was built. And this, when we stand back and look at it, is brilliant. It's incredible. But go up close and we see that. So keep in mind that what you might take for granted, what you just might think is you doing your thing every day or helping people the way you always help people or whatever that might be, is probably not the case. If you were to take a step back and observe looking in, you're probably standing on a mountain of value, a pyramid of value, in fact, and a pyramid of brilliance. So keep that in mind. So I want to present this idea to you. We've got two trainers here. They look about the same. They're wearing about the same singlet. They clearly work for the same company. Trainer one, when you ask them, oh, why did you become a trainer? She says, oh, well, I love the flexibility of a personal training lifestyle and I love training myself. So now I want to train others. And I hated being behind the desk working 9 to 5. And now I get to work my own hours and, help people exercise and, get paid for it too. And you look at that and go, well, wow, you're not very unique. You're not very special at all. There's nothing super impressive about you. And all things being equal, let's assume these trainers are both as well educated, have the same skill sets, love everything, love their passion, love what they do. All things else remaining equal, trainer two says, when she gets asked, why do you do what you do? Well, actually, I do what I do because I was heavily bullied at school and I was overweight and I know what it feels like to not feel comfortable in your own skin. And it's taken me 7 years to get to a position where I feel confident and proud of where I am. And now I want to help people just like me of 7 years ago, fast track their success so they don't have to spend 7 years underconfident, filled with doubt, and not feeling comfortable in their own skin. So that's why I do what I do. So two trainers, both doing the same thing, but having a very markedly different message. And unfortunately, the reality is most people work like trainer one. When you ask, what do you do? Oh, I'm a coach. Or what do you do? Oh, I'm an exercise physiologist. Or what do you do? I'm a physio. That is what you are. It's not why you do it. And realistically, in that first 10, 15, 30 seconds of being in front of someone, you have an opportunity to make an impact. You have an opportunity to share your personal story and make an impact in that 30 seconds. And what we'd find is trainer two, all things remaining equal, will have a lot more impact. So if you were to ask, all things being equal, who survives, I would put my bet on trainer two in this example every single time. Why? Because it's relatable. The biggest thing that people struggle with when they walk into the gym or become an athlete, whatever it is to find a way to make this relatable and find people who can relate to their unique set of experiences. For my mum, for example, walking into a gym, it would be hard for her to walk into a gym and feel like she belongs there. It's a performance facility. It's aimed at athletes. So for my mum to walk in who has body composition goals and who's middle-aged, it would make sense that she'd find it hard. What that then means is that we would need to have the tools and the systems to relate her to a whole bunch of other stories like her, other people with similar experiences like hers, and say, hey, this is why they fit in. This is why it's okay to be here. So you can start to get an idea of why a personal story and the vulnerability that goes with that personal story is so important for you to make an impact and for you to get clarity on who you want to work with. So I want to quickly play a video by Simon Sinek. You guys will know this guy because he has a really popular book and now a video, a TED Talk, which says Start With Why. And he looks at how any business that makes an impact doesn't sell what they do, they don't even sell how they do it. They sell why they do it. And he uses Apple as an example and shows this golden circle of why you need to start with why, then tell them how you do it, and then tell them what you do. What you do is the last thing you do. But if you go back to that previous example, trainer one says that when they ask what do you do, they say what they do as opposed to why they do it. So I want to quickly play this video for you.
I'm Simon Sinek, and you're watching Behind the Brand.
What have you been afraid of in the past? Have you ever been stuck, paralyzed by fear?
Yeah, I mean, of course. In our world, few of us are afraid of dying. We don't live in that kind of society in the first world on a daily basis. But we fear failure. We all do. It paralyzes a lot of people from not starting businesses. And in that time that I spoke of, those years ago, that dark period for me, I was all consumed by fear. I was afraid I was going to go out of business, and that fear became paranoia and extended beyond even my business. I was convinced those who worked with me hated me. I was even worried I was going to get evicted.
Were these just things that you manufactured in your own
Oh,
mind?
of course.
Or was it a reality?
I mean, you can make a case for anything, one way or the other. God has given us the gift of rationalization. But I don't believe the courage to overcome these things. I don't believe this comes from inside us. You don't go inside to find courage. Courage comes from relationships. Courage comes from the feeling that someone has your back. And when someone says, whether it's a parent or a mentor or a close friend says, I believe in you, I've got your back. That's what fuels us. It gives us okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. That's where courage comes from. And even me, that's where it came from. In this dark period, I was very lucky that I had a friend who said, are you okay? She could see I wasn't myself. She said, don't worry, you're not alone. And that gave me the courage to admit that I was struggling and to be willing to try and find a solution.
How did that feel when she said that?
Look, humans are social animals, and almost all of our behavior is governed by our desire to feel safe. Locking the doors at night feels safe. Having someone sit next to us when we're hurt, when we're depressed, we want someone near us. I mean, when we get married, we celebrate. We want to be near people. I mean, this is a very, very basic human thing. And so those who foster relationships, those who take care of others, will find themselves in a position where others are more likely to take care of them. Those who are driven solely by their own success, their own fame, their own fortune, that's a solo exercise. People will happily watch you, and if they're helping you, it's probably for selfish gain themselves because you set the tone.
I think there's an important lesson there I would like to underscore just a little
Yeah.
bit. And it was subtle, so I don't want anyone to miss it. In order to get through tough times,
Yeah.
in order to get through the fear, we need other people.
Have to.
But the
Biological and anthropological imperative.
But isn't it ironic that during those times, at least personally, the opposite feeling occurs. I want to go back inside my shell.
Of course.
Whether it's I feel shame or it's too painful or risky to stick my neck out. And I think, and I speak from personal experience, that I just want to journey alone, to carry the burden alone. When it's almost like that fish out of water. It's flapping away from helping hands that could push it right back into the water where it ought to be to live and survive. And yet it flaps away from helping hands.
So yes, it's we feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to expose ourselves to further vulnerability, whether it's humiliation or the real opportunity of failure, the real chance of failure. And so we close in, we put our walls up, and we work to protect ourselves. The irony is it does more damage.
Yeah.
And it's
So I guess the purpose of that for me to share with you is the idea that sociable creatures, and humans in particular, will always do better when they can share their vulnerability, their personal story with others, and it makes them infinitely more relatable. I did this myself with Athletes Authority earlier this year to incredible effect to the people that started reaching out to me and saying, wow, I really appreciate you sharing your story, etc., etc. And that gave me instant credibility and instant relatedness, and that massively helped me move forward with the business and probably indirectly be in front of you guys today, because I've now recognized off the back of that I probably did a lot of things wrong as a coach. And Lockie probably made a few mistakes too. And through those mistakes, through those lessons, we now can impart and fast track your success. So unless I recognize that I had made a lot of mistakes and there are things I did wrong, I wouldn't be able to share those with you now. And if I wasn't able to ask those questions myself, I wouldn't be able to ask those questions of you now, talking about your personal story yourselves. So this is a great idea. If you have something that you cannot give away, you don't own it, it owns you. Another way to describe this is you cannot give what you do not have. So if you're not willing to ask questions of your own personal story and reflect and observe and apply some introspection, you cannot expect to be able to ask those questions of others and let them explore it for themselves. So that is why we start here. Before you become effective at communication, effective at influence, effective at relatedness, you need to relate to yourself. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to ask a whole bunch of questions, probably about 10 of them. What you're going to do is shortly you're going to pull out your phone, voice recorder ideally, and as I ask a question, you're going to put me on pause and put yourself on play, and you're going to ramble as much as you possibly want to try and answer that question. Don't worry about articulating it too well. Don't worry about stumbling the words or stuttering or whatever it might be. Don't worry about sounding good. This is not for anyone but yourself, and giving yourself an opportunity to articulate your personal story and get a little bit more clarity on that. So the reason why we do this is you'll have two options in the end, which I'll explore later, but essentially option one will be for you to send this off to a transcription company called Rev, and you can transcribe at $1 a minute. If this is a $10, 10-minute episode, then it'll cost you about $10 to do. So not a big issue. You can otherwise just quickly transcribe this yourself, type in the keywords and summarize what you've said. So either way, it'll be really, really easy for you. So we're about to enter a Q&A. Please be honest with yourself. Please give yourself permission to answer openly and vulnerably, because it will really, really help. Now remember, this is just for you. This isn't something we need to post unless you want it to. This will end up being summarized. You can summarize this later. So just be free and let yourself go with this one. So here we go. It's time to get some shit done. So this course, I will probably, just before we start, is not going to work for you. You will need to work for it. All these presentations, all these things we do will end up resulting in you having to apply something, whether it's understanding the concept and applying it to your own business or whatever it might be. This is your time to actually get your hands dirty and get shit done, so to speak. It's a quote of Lockie and I's that we try and keep close to home, because it reminds us to make sure we're men of action, and hopefully you guys can be coaches of action too. So let's rock and roll. So what do you love most about what you do? Another way to think of this is also, what frustrates you most about what you do? What are the challenges that you're facing on a day-to-day basis? What about the world in general frustrates you, and what would you like to do about it? What do you like to do when you're not getting paid to do it? So another way to think of this is what are your hobbies? What are the passions that light you up, that you like to spend your free time doing? What are the things that energize you, that fill your cup, so to speak? Why did you decide to be a coach instead of any other job in the world? And that might seem like an obvious question, but think about it. There are so many jobs you could have done, but you decided to be a coach. Why do you think that is? If you're thinking about starting your own business or already have, what big event or what realization sparked this desire to be your own boss? What are your top 5 values in your life? These can be both tangible and intangible, but it'll start to help you get clarity on what matters in your life and how you can spend your time more effectively. So what are the top 5 things that you value in your life? That's it. That's all we have to do. Now, please save that, listen over it again if you want to. If you just want to save yourself some time and send it up to Rev, we suggest downloading the app Rev. You can just upload your voice recorder to that and get them to transcribe it for you. Otherwise, if obviously you want to try and save some money and you prefer to listen back to what you've said, just go ahead and transcribe that yourself and summarize each point. From there, save it on a document, some kind of master file or a Google Doc or whatever it might be for all your work going forward. This will just be a great reference point as we progress further and further into the program for when you start to design your pitch and build out your products and start publishing content and all those kind of things. And now if you'd like review, please feel free to post your summary of your personal story on the Facebook group. And finally, I'm going to make sure you guys have access to a diagnostic tool, essentially an assessment tool to figure out where you guys currently are. Obviously, you do this as coaches for your clients, whether that's 1RM testing or a movement screen or goal setting or whatever it might be. You do some kind of assessment, some kind of diagnostic, and we're going to do that too. So I'm going to save this document in a resource folder, save it on the Google Drive, and then give you guys that link. Make sure you download that, fill that out, score yourself out of 143 or whatever the number was. And then we're going to post-test this at the end of the 9 months and see how much you've improved, see what things you've really nailed, see what things you need to work on. It will actually give you some direction for the 9 months that follow this 9-month mentorship so you know what you need to target on. So that's all we've got today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed today's presentation and looking forward to posting up the next one on Friday. See you guys then.